I decided to give a presentation on Eve because a lot of women that I talked to were really intrigued by Eve, and I know I was myself. I'll have to admit, though, that I had a lot of preconceived notions about Eve. She was kind of the original bad girl of the Bible, and the legacy she left was really one of sin and despair for all mankind, right? That's what most people associate when they think about Eve. And I thought, how is that going to relate to me? I mean, how is that something I can really learn from? But you know, what I discovered was that Eve really has two legacies. And those two legacies are this. She had a legacy of sin and despair. Her actions condemned the world. But as we'll see, she also had a legacy of salvation and hope, because it was through her seed, Jesus Christ, that the world would be saved. And so she has two very important legacies. So what we're going to do is look in detail at these two legacies and see how they apply to our lives today and help us determine the legacy that we want to leave. So to do that, we're going to turn to the 7 seeds of history, of biblical history. And that's something that we talk a lot about at Answers in Genesis at the Creation Museum, and they're really 7 milestones throughout Scripture. And these are going to help us understand more about Eve. Now, Eve obviously is only present in bodily form in the first 2 seeds of creation and corruption. And we're going to spend the majority of our time focused on these because they're foundational to her legacies. But the remaining 5 seeds are also very important for Eve's legacy, and especially understanding that legacy of salvation and hope. So we're going to talk about all of these today. And we're going to begin with the very first seed, which is creation. And we know from Scripture that God created both man and woman, both Adam and Eve, on the 6th day of creation. After he created the land animals, he created Adam and Eve. And again, we know that from Scripture. Then God said, "Let us make man in our image, according to our likeness. Let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, and over the cattle, over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth." So God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him. Male and female, he created them. So it's very clear from Scripture that both Adam and Eve, both male and female, were made on the same day. And we go to Genesis 1:28, then God blessed them, and God said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it. Have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, and over every living thing that moves on the earth." So what we see in chapter 1 is basically a summary. You get a summary of what was created on each day. And then what chapter 2 of Genesis does, it sort of takes us back in time, and it specifically talks a lot about the creation of Adam and Eve. It really focuses on that. And it's important that we know these details, both from a human perspective, because after all, this is our origin, but also from God's perspective, because we are the crowning glory of creation. We were the only ones created in God's image to have a relationship with him. And, God, after he created, man and woman, he said to them, they're to be fruitful, they're to multiply, to have lots of kids, right? They had the job of of helping to fill the earth and subdue it. They were to be stewards of everything that God had created. They were over all of it. They were the crowning glory of his creation.